Hey, welcome to a new album review. And today we have an EP, not necessarily an album. And yesterday I talked about how the album was actually preceded by an EP called Micro. And yesterday I reviewed Macro, and today we're reviewing Micro, the EP, because I was kind of curious about what the hell was it, so I just decided to take a go at it. And it's a very small EP. It has like 5 songs, well, 4 songs technically. One song is actually very short. It has like less than 2 minutes. So I decided to listen to it, and honestly, yeah, it's a good EP that preceded the album, and I think it is more on the bridge side of things, as in like essentially this album is a good bridge between King of Everything and Macro, and definitely embodies, in my opinion, the best qualities of both. You have the groovy parts, it's still very heavy. You have the groovy parts. Definitely this album feels way more, or this EP feels way more groovy than the album that ended up succeeding it, which I found very interesting as a tidbit. But yes, essentially, it is. In a way, it also feels that it takes itself way less seriously than the actual album itself. It is definitely an EP where it's more about like the sound necessarily than, I guess, the atmosphere or anything like that. Yeah, look, it's way groovier. It has way more melodic sections and everything, although you don't have those weird, especially that weird reggae song that you had in the album. So I think the album is a bit more serious, definitely, than the EP, although the EP is like half of the album. But yes, apparently, like essentially here you can hear a lot of the trials that the band was doing, especially that ended up preceding the album itself. A lot of the heaviness, especially, and definitely there's the aggression here. In some songs it's way less controlled. Definitely, again, like, I feel that in terms of heaviness this is closer to King of Everything than Macro in terms of like how the band sounds. It sounds way groovier than Macro does, but and my favorite, it does have a song called Perennial, which seems to share a lot of similarities with the song from the album that actually closes the album, or that doesn't close I don't actually remember if it closes the album or not, but whatever. I know that it's there, and it's like the name is the opposite type thing, right? So I like when things like this are actually tied together. It's very nice. However, this EP does not actually end with that song. It ends with a song called Micro, which is the title song of the EP, I guess. And it is just a very simple instrumental, mostly drums and bass. It's the only two things that it does, and I think that at this point I've figured that Jinjer likes to always finish the albums, or in this case the EP, with something a little bit lighter, a bit more instrumental, that it's not as heavy or whatever. And I actually dig it a lot. I was really digging a lot of the bass in this song. I think it's a shame that it's only like 1 minute and 40 long. I don't know why bands do this shit all the time. It was the same thing with Opeth in Blackwater Park as Patterns in the Ivy, which is like sort of it's not an interlude song, but it's a smaller song to break up the monotony of the album, I guess. And I fucking hate it because the song is also only like 1 minute and 40 long. It's purely instrumental. It's just like a guitar or whatever, and it's so good. Like, it's genuinely so good. It sounds so good. And here's the same thing, Micro actually sounds so unbelievably good, and I just wanted it to actually be extended, right? It's a shame that it isn't. It's a shame that it's only 1 minute 40 long, honestly. Again, like, the bass sounds really good, accompanied with the drums. It's really, really like peaceful. It's amongst the best instrumental songs that I've heard in one of these albums, for sure. And even just generally speaking, I'm always impressed when bands like this, that seem to be all noise, are always capable of bringing out something that sounds very melodical, and something that actually is maybe not simple in nature, because it's definitely not simple, but that sounds way more stripped down than their usual things. So honestly, I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, honestly, I think I enjoy the EP more than I enjoy the album, because again, this is a good bridge between King of Everything and Macro, and sort of embodies the best qualities of both, where you have a lot of melodic sections, and you have a lot of like this sort of dynamic that you see in King of Everything, but you also have a lot of the grooviness that I mean, King of Everything had a lot of grooviness, but you have a lot of the heaviness. That's what I meant. You have a lot of the heaviness that you also have in Macro, and some songs definitely, part of the songs at least, are a bit more like that controlled, sort of noise, like genty noise, like you see in Macro. A lot of it is also just very raw aggression, very raw energy, like you see in King of Everything. So as far as an EP goes, I think it does an amazing job at just not just like extending and trialing what you already did before and just sort of playing a little bit more with that, but also trying to slowly dip into like new territory and maybe like testing the waters for something else. I think it's a very good in-between EP, and I think it's one of those things where if you're gonna be listening to Jinjer's discography, I would definitely recommend for you to actually listen to King of Everything and then listen to this EP and then listen to Macro, because I think things will actually flow much better, generally speaking. However, I will still say I think that Macro is actually further out from Micro than King of Everything, despite the release dates. Like essentially, I think King of Everything sounds closer to Micro than Micro does to Macro, if that makes sense, right? But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like it's a stop you should definitely get into. It's something they should definitely like. If you're listening to discography, it's like a stopping point they should definitely take rather than just listening to the studio albums or whatever. I'm always curious to see like if the EPs are worth a listen or not, because I know that not every band takes EPs the same way. Some bands only take EPs in a way to like test their sound, and then they just release studio albums and that's it, right? Basically they make EPs to like make proofs of concept in order to see if it's worth it or not. Other bands seem to make it just because they take it less seriously. It's not as high stakes or whatever because it's not a studio album or whatever, while other bands seem to like Jinjer seem to actually make it part of their work, and just because it's smaller and it's an EP doesn't mean that it needs to be taken less seriously or whatever. Again, I said that I know that I said at the beginning that it's not as serious as Macro, and it isn't. Definitely, I don't feel like the album, or again the EP, is taken as seriously as the studio albums, but that doesn't mean it's not serious, and it seems to be incorporated into their work in that way. Like again, you release an EP called Micro and then you release a studio album called Macro. That's pretty cool, right? So yeah, and I mean, I think that it's a good compromise between people that liked King of Everything like I did, where a lot of this style is kind of that, and a compromise between the people that also like the new sound and like the new album, and them wanting to also test sort of a different sound. So yeah, I think it did a very good job. Honestly, I'm really impressed with the quality of the EP. I'm really impressed with Micro. Again, songs should definitely be fucking longer. I always seem to like the album closers, I don't know why, but yes, that song should definitely be longer, and honestly my 5 meter is giving me like a strong 9 out of 10 at the moment, so I think I'm gonna go with that, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new album review.